Hey guys, today I'm going to be telling you the story of my first reptile. So, the year was about 2004, 2005, and I had wanted a reptile for years. And I kept on asking my parents, I'm like, listen, can I have a crested gecko? Can I have a gecko at all? And, it was between a crested gecko and a leopard gecko at the time. And for whatever reason, I decided on a crested gecko. And I think it was mainly because, they stuck to walls, they had a tropical environment, I didn't have to worry about sand. At the time, reading online, you would always see leopard geckos getting sick, and I just didn't want to put an animal at that harm. And my mother kept on saying no, 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 no. And my father was just like, whatever your mother says. And one day I went to her and I asked her, I'm like, listen, can I have a gecko? And the main reason I wanted a reptile at the time, which wasn't the right reason, was one of my friends in school. He had a lot of reptiles himself. His dad was a breeder of ball pythons. He himself had emerald tree boas. He had frilled dragons. He had leopard geckos. He had a lot. And, I really wanted one for myself, and I had the opportunity to buy one off of him at the time. My mother kept on saying no, and the one that I was supposed to purchase ended up being sold to somebody else. So one day she said, yeah. And I took that as, yes, go get it. And same day I ran to the store. Well, I got driven to the store by my brother, and I went to go purchase this little lovely. And, she's just a buckskin, and she's not too pretty, but she's pretty to me. And at the time, she had an orange back, and she was very pretty. And out of all of them, she looked the freshest, the most full of energy. I think the rest were there for a while, and this one was just a new one. And she was approximately 6 months old at the time. She's approximately 12 and a half years now. And when I got to the cash, they told me, no, sorry, you're not allowed to purchase her. And I said, why? And they said, you're not 18 or older. At the time, I was only 17. And I had to go to my brother's car and get him to sign the release so that I would be able to purchase this gecko. So it's actually thanks to my older brother that I have reptiles now. So my wife can blame him. And so from there, what ended up happening was I joined a bunch of forums, and I got a bunch of information, and I had a lot of research done on them in particular. But I joined raxcanada.ca, which is a forum that I now own, but I've taken down because there was no usage. There's too many spam bots. I might be relaunching it soon, but I haven't decided yet. And at the time, Betty Miskey, who was the owner of Gecko Brothel, she was also the distributor, not at that time, but a little bit later, of Clark's Gecko Diet. She was having a contest on this website where all you needed to do was raise some birthday cards for a child with leukemia who was looking to receive the most amount of birthday cards ever to be enlisted in the Guinness World Record books. And I saw this as a opportunity not only to get a new gecko, but also to help out. And I think this fostered that giving mentality within me. And so what I did was, I was working at Loblaws at the time, and every single break, every single lunch break, even some days off, I would stand in front of Loblaws with a big sign saying, help this child buy a dollar card. And I was handing out flyers to people who would walk by. And because of this, I was actually featured in the Toronto Star, the Globe and Mail, and I had a bunch of emails of people saying, I want to donate, where do I send it? So I had them send it directly to the kid. I didn't want them sending it to me, and then I had to send it to the kid because that was just counterintuitive. So what I did do was I won that contest. I ended up raising 157 cards. And when I went to go give them, it was actually to my very first reptile expo. I actually didn't even know that there was such a thing as a reptile expo. The marketing wasn't really that good at the time, and it was because of winning this contest that I knew I had to go to this specific venue where there was going to be a reptile expo. And I met a lot of my current friends there and breeders that I still know to this date. And when I was at that store, not really at that expo, what happened was I started walking around and I'm like, oh, there's a lot of animals here, and I wanted more crested geckos. So I decided, one turned into three. I got the one that was free from Betty, and then I walked around the show, and I ended up purchasing a third one. Now, that was Bandit, and the other one was Pin, is what I called her, because she was a pinstripe, which was very expensive at the time. And Bandit and Pin have passed away since, but my original gecko, who was now 12, is still fine. So from there, now I had 3 geckos, and I kept only those 3 for approximately, I think it was 4 years of just those 3. And I never bred them. I kept them separate, and then one year I decided, let's put them all together. They're about the size. And they started producing eggs, and nothing would hatch. It was too hot in my house, and it just wasn't conducive of a healthy environment for eggs. And so what I ended up doing was, I said, well, whatever, I'll just keep on feeding them, and I kind of lost interest, but I was still making sure that they were healthy. At the time, we didn't really have Rapashi available. We didn't have Clark's. Pangea wasn't even made. So we were actually feeding a fruit and yogurt diet. And that's actually what raised this girl for a good 7-8 years. And I'll put a link right here for you as to how to make that fruit and yogurt diet. It's good for a treat. I did use it as a complete diet for years. But now that more research has been done, stick with complete diets. They are formulated specifically for this species so that they thrive, not survive. Yeah, so after having them for about 4 years, I decided I wanted a Chihuahua gecko. I actually wanted a Chihuahua or a Lichianus, but the Lichianus was just way out of my price range at the time. And part of the reason was I wanted something that ate pinkies because it was cool. And that wasn't really the case, but it's not really cool, but I thought it was at the time. And I ended up purchasing a Chihuahua, which was Winston, who's currently here with his little girlfriend now. And when I was there to go purchase Winston, what ended up happening was I had a full-on conversation with the owner, and she indicated how reptile supplies were so expensive, and all these feeding ledges that she currently had, which were Magnaturals at the time, were so expensive, and she wanted to provide something better for them, but really can't afford $30 ledges for so many cages. And yeah, I agreed with her. And the thing is that that's what fostered my whole thought pattern to make the Reptile ledge, was I needed an inexpensive ledge that would actually, serve the purpose of feeding these guys in higher locations as they do in the wild, but at a cheap cost. And I ended up ordering 100, and then they went on Kijiji because 100 at the time was the same price as 10. They sold out in a week and a half, and I thought, you know what, there's a business here. So all of this is thanks to my brother signing a sheet of paper to get my first reptile. So it's all thanks to this little girl here and my brother for pretty much disobeying my parents and signing a sheet of paper.